institution like the G20 summit is like a wedding in the family. It's massive, it's unwieldy at times. People fight, things go sideways in ways you least expect. But the family rallies around, any glitches or any faux pas is fixed, all of them put on a smile, and everyone gets the job done. But look at how some people in our country have reacted over the last few days over India's organization of the G20, and you would be reminded of a rather dysfunctional family, where while the wedding is on, one family member is just telling the guests about how terrible things are behind the scenes, about how no one gets along with each other, and the decoration, frankly, is rather garish. On a serious note, though, what was with the meltdown that some people were having while India was hosting the G20 summit? Why were some people trying to paint the summit as a colossal failure, a washout, cosmetic, just a rotational presidency? And all of this despite the fact that the Congress's MP, Shashi Tharoor himself acknowledged that in execution and outcome, India's presidency and the G20 summit as a whole was nothing short of a diplomatic triumph.
So the Delhi Declaration is undoubtedly a diplomatic triumph for India. It's a good achievement because right until the G20 summit was being convened, the widespread expectation was there would be no agreement, and that therefore a joint communique might not be possible. We might have to end up with a chairman's summary. On the presidency as a whole, one of the things that was remarkable, I would say, about the government's conduct of the presidency was that they did something that no previous G20 presidency has done. They actually made it a huge nationwide event. Yeah, I'm in touch with both Amitabh Kant, the G20 Sherpa, and with our foreign minister, and I would congratulate them because what they have done is certainly very, very good for India. It is not easy to pull off a diplomatic negotiation like this.
Irrespective of what Shashi Tharoor says, the Congress was determined that the summit is a failure. And to back up this claim, facts were a little thin for them, so then there were the falsehoods. On day one itself, it was said that the entire venue is flooded. Truth is, it wasn't. Now it is being claimed that the government has crossed the G20 budget by 300% in order to glorify the Prime Minister alone. The truth, though, is that a total of 4,100 crores was spent to create infrastructure so that India could host the G20 summit, including, by the way, the construction of the Bharat Mandapam. The cherry on top for all of this was when Priyanka Gandhi, in a poll rally in Tonk in Rajasthan, referred to the summit as Inka G20. Listen.
आज सुबह तो मैंने देखा कि इनके G20 जब हो रहा था तो बारिश आई और सारा जितना भी वो जहां पे वो G20 की मीटिंग रख रहे हैं उसमें सारा पानी फैल गया है।
इससे क्या होगा? देश की जनता को क्या फायदा होगा? लोगों को बुला के इतना खर्चा कर रहे हैं, देश का प्रॉपर्टी बर्बाद हो गया। देश के आम जनता को क्या फायदा होगा?
अच्छी बात है, वो फॉर्मर डिप्लोमेट रहे हैं। आज जिस तरह से मोदी जी की अगुवाई में भारत का मान बढ़ा है, जिस तरह से एक सर्वानुमति का कंसेंसस आया है, जिस तरह से क्या अमेरिका, क्या इंग्लैंड, क्या यूरोप, जिस तरह से अफ्रीकन यूनियन को जगह मिली है G20 में, तो भारत की बहुत बड़ी कूटनीतिक सफलता है और सभी दुनिया के देश एक स्वर में आए।
In any country, like in any family or in any wedding, there are differences without a doubt. Many would argue that it's the job of an opposition to point out the flaws. But when these flaws are imagined, or worse, when they are faked, at the end of the day, it all boils down to this. Is the negativity so overbearing now in our domestic politics that we can't seem to agree on something that India as a whole, the country, Bharat, has achieved as a whole? Let me take that across to the panel joining us now. Sanju Verma, National Spokesperson of the BJP. This is Lokesh Jindal, Vivek Srivastava, political analyst, and Manoj Yadav, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. So let's start by asking you, Sanju Verma, because today Laluji said, what have the common people got? You've had this huge pomp and show, you know, everyone came, you clicked your pictures. What did people get?
Padmaja, you're looking very nice in the traditional attire. Coming to your question, I think anyone who has even itna sa nationalism left within them, they will admit, no holds barred, no questions asked, this G20 was not limited just to the political dispensation of the government of the day. This was a people's movement with more than 258 events spread out across, almost every state and union territory, including Srinagar, including, remote parts of Arunachal Pradesh. Point number one. Point number two, I think the most important thing which the G20 summit has done, and absolutely all credit to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his visionary leadership. You can call me Andhbhat, you can call me Modi Bhat, what have you. I really don't care. I care two hoots about these epithets. But if you have this much of nationalism left, you will understand the kind of standing the G20 summit has bestowed on every Indian. I mean, look at it. From the IMF chief Kristalina Georgieva to US President Joe Biden, to Mark Rutte of Netherlands, to Rishi Sunak of UK, to Giorgia Meloni of Italy, to Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Union Commission, they've all said in one voice that India is going to be leading the world in terms of economic growth. The induction of the 55-strong contingent of the African Union now makes it G21. The fact that we've been one of the forefront leaders who actually pioneered the establishment of the Global Biofuels Alliance. And last but not the least, ये सारे जो डंका बजा रहे थे कई सालों से, अरे India has done a huge blunder by not joining the BRI. It's a different matter that Italy has said we will exit out of the BRI come April 2024. That's besides the point. But the fact that G20 is where the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, the contours of that, those were defined and stitched together. And the fact that, as always, we decided that when it comes to poor nations who were, who borne the brunt of the stick and have been at the receiving end, be it a Ghana or a Zambia or an Ethiopia, at the height of the COVID pandemic, if you notice, Padmaja, you've been covering this event intensively and extensively, we decided to go in for debt relief, but most importantly, the world understood within the confines of G20 that UPI, digital infrastructure, physical infrastructure to hai hi, but digital infrastructure is what is going to drive India to becoming, which is what Kristalina Georgieva said, that come 2027-28, not the fourth largest. India has the potential to actually become the third largest economy in the world, overtaking not only Germany but also Japan.
So Sanju Verma has given a whole laundry list of what people of India get, Lokesh Jindal. If you don't agree with her, agree at least with Shashi Tharoor. He is saying that in its presidency, India has thought, and I'm quoting, the G20 presidency has been remarkable in that India achieved what no one has done so far.
Padmaja, in the beginning, you compared the G20 summit with the marriage ceremony. Now, marriage ceremony is legally binding, right? But is G20 legally binding? It's not. None of what is moved. No. Let me be very clear on this. G20 is not a legally binding platform. It's a merely summit. It's like a kitti party. So you should have drawn the right parallel rather than a marriage ceremony. It was a kitti party amongst 20 nations coming together to hold talks. But what happened during this time? Now let me give you example of Nagpur, my city. 140 crore rupees were spent by the Nagpur Municipal Corporation for beautifying the city. 60 crore was spent only to beautify the flyovers. 25 crores were spent for some form of lightings that was done near the hotels where they were staying. Ma'am, about 120 crore rupees was spent, which has simply washed away in the present rains. This 120 crore rupees could have been spent to make a cancer hospital. It could have been made so as to build some form of a infrastructure with respect to health, which was one of the prime motive of this G20 summit. The idea is, ma'am, when the G20 summit is all about sustainable development goals, it's all about health, it's about providing amenities, it's about the future of one future. So it's over here that the government could have set an example by having more of constructive work rather than the pomp and show.
So you think the India-Europe economic corridor is basically a kitty party ka outcome? Who cares?
No,
it's just a corridor.
Madam, is it legally binding? Okay, tell me one thing. With respect to climate change,
it's a memorandum of understanding that has been written, sir, between governments. Anyway, let Sanju Verma respond. Two things, Sanju Verma. One, it's basically a talk shop. Who knows if this corridor happens or not? Who knows whether alliance happens or not on biofuels? And also, why did you spend so much on beautifying? It's a vanity project, nothing more.
Padmaja, and with no offense to Lokesh, I'm in a great mood today, and nothing is going to sully my optimism. Not that my optimism can be sullied by Congress acolytes, but be that as it may, I just want to say one thing. मुझे Lokesh आपका तो पता नहीं, and I say this in all humility. हमारे घर में फॉरगेट शादी ब्याह, यदि कोई गेस्ट बाहर से आने वाला होता है, कोई छोटा फंक्शन भी होता है, you always make sure you are dressed in your best, you put your best foot forward. If there's a leaky tap or there's a creaky window or there is a hinge in the door which has come unhinged, you make sure everything is prim and proper. So if the Modi government has spent the kind of money that you claim it has when it is hosting an event which accounts for G20 members who account for 85% of the global GDP, 75% of the global trade, and 67% of the global population. I don't see why anybody should be rattled by the fact that हमने ये beautify किया और वो beautify किया, but just quickly in 20 seconds, I will burst your balloon. Point number one, let's not, be diplomatic on this count. Undoubtedly, Joe Biden was the biggest entity present there by virtue of the fact that, he leads the biggest superpower globally. Now, Padmaja, you will be surprised to know these figures are out in the public domain. In the last 3 months alone, we are not talking of FDI. We are just talking of FPI flows. 38% of the 60, how much? $60 billion which came into the Indian stock markets. 38% of that was accounted for by whom? By the United States of America. Applied Materials, one of the biggest global precision manufacturing, companies, precision instrument manufacturing companies. For the longest time, the Congress tried to woo it. Applied Materials is setting up $400 million worth of an engineering center in India. Then let's talk about Micron, the global semiconductor giant. And what happened? Sanjay Mehrotra, after his meeting with Prime Minister Modi, is setting up a chip assembly making plant in Gujarat. And we are going to have 2 new US consulates, one in Bengaluru, one in Ahmedabad. Contrary, apart from the ones that we already have, India is setting up a new mission in Seattle. And last year, our exports to the US were how much? $80 billion. Our imports were how much? $54 billion. So we have positive terms of trade with the United States. For the sake of opposition,
let me also counter to you. You spoke of Joe Biden as the single largest figure. He went from here to Vietnam. Here is what he said. And the Congress is saying, look, it was all hugs and smiles here. And then in Vietnam, there was a rap on the knuckles. Listen to Joe Biden.
And as I always do, I raise the importance of respecting human rights and the vital role that civil society and a free press have in building a strong and prosperous country with Mr. Modi. And we've gotten a lot of important work done.
Response, Sanju Verma. Everyone was exultant today morning saying कि अब भक्त क्या करेंगे? Joe Biden ने जाके वियतनाम में बोला कि हमने human rights के बारे में बात की है with Prime Minister Modi.
I knew this question was coming. If you hadn't asked me, I would have been surprised, given that you, Padmaja, do a lot of homework yourself as an anchor. And this I'm quoting from an article in the Economic Times, so that you don't rebut me at least. This is what on the sidelines of the Quad Summit, which was held as part of the G7 Summit, which was held between 19th to 21st May 2023, barely a few months back at Hiroshima. This is what Joe Biden said. Joe Biden told Prime Minister Modi, you are demonstrating that the spirit of democracy still exists and matters. And then he went on to say, Prime Minister Modi has made a significant impact on everything, including peace and stability. As far as the Indo-Pacific goes, you are also making a fundamental shift and a difference to positive climate change. This was Joe Biden at Hiroshima a few months back on the sidelines of the G7 summit. Then again, just a few hours back, at the G20, this is what Joe Biden said. And I hope, Lokesh, you will listen to this. And I hope the likes of Priyanka who said, ye to inka G20 hai. This is what Joe Biden has said. Joe Biden said, you, as in PM Modi, you, PM Modi, are bringing us together, keeping us together, reminding us that we have the capacity to tackle challenges together. This is Prime Minister Joe Biden after his bilateral meeting with Narendra Modi.
So you're saying what he said in Vietnam is not a rap on the knuckles? Everyone seems to suggest it is.
No, so I will just take 10 seconds to tell you that after his bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, this is what was released by way of a statement. It says both the leaders, President Biden and Prime Minister Modi, re-emphasized that the shared values of freedom, democracy, human rights, inclusion, pluralism, and equal opportunities for all citizens are critical to the success our countries enjoy, and that these values strengthen our relationship. Even Narendra Modi has said our commitment to human rights, to positive climate change, to upholding democratic values, we hold these in high esteem. Isme kaun si badi baat hai? The nanny of Rahul Gandhi, Jairam Ramesh is always rapping.
Most of the people who you are taking as sending messages overt and covert to Narendra Modi are actually not rapping them so much. Pehle you said, oh look, Joe Biden, kya slap on the face. Some people even were reading into Shah Rukh Khan's new movie, saying, this film is a resounding answer to the Modi government. What does Shah Rukh Khan do? Shah Rukh Khan tweets yesterday saying, congratulations, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, for the success of India's G20 presidency and for fostering unity between nations for a better future for the people of India. It has brought a sense of honor and pride into the hearts of every Indian, sir. Under your leadership, we will prosper not in isolation, but in oneness. ये तो शाहरुख खान से इतनी उम्मीदें थी विवेक श्रीवास्तव कि वो स्लैप इन द फेस करने वाले, उन्होंने तो कहा अंडर योर लीडरशिप वी आर प्रॉस्परिंग. प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी, अब आप सुनिए, सुन लीजिए. Yes. Please let me speak uninterrupted for 30 seconds. Yes. You gave Sanju so much of time and she was beating about the bush. I mean, let's be very clear about it. A responsible opposition and a responsible media need not behave like sycophants, and we must question the government where we feel the government is wrong. This is my country. This government, he is my prime minister. However, I have a right to question if I see something is not happening the way it should. You are almost becoming a fascist state where press freedom is not happening. Padmaja Joshi is not allowed to interview any of the foreign dignitaries. Press conferences are not taking place. Joe Biden goes to Vietnam, and sir, yes, we interviewed the head of Argentina. The head of Brazil has been interviewed by another media house, who said we are not being allowed to speak to people.
You're not letting me speak now. You're not letting me speak.
Even as we speak.
Let me speak.
The Saudi Crown Prince is meeting journalists.
The dignitaries, please let me speak.
आपको नहीं बुलाया, मतलब ये नहीं किसी से बात नहीं की.
Let me speak now. I mean, don't talk on the sidelines. Officially G20 में press conferences को officially नहीं allow किया. आप please सुन लीजिए मेरी बात को, मैडम. वो official G20 के forum में आपने नहीं किया है. The Prime Minister did not allow you, neither did the government of India. Don't try to hide it. And when he goes to Vietnam and talks to the media over there, he says, I question the civil rights liberties, I question human rights, and also talked about the press freedom with Prime Minister Modi. It is official, number one. Number two, please listen to me. Yes,
we are a poor country. Uninterrupted.
We have slums. Yes. We have poor people. Yeah, we have poor people. We have poor people. I mean, fine. You try to beautify your country when foreign dignitaries are coming. Even that is fine. I agree. But here, you will be surprised that in Delhi, Noida, Greater Noida, in areas, cats and dogs were picked up and dumped without food for the 3 days in many areas.
Sir, you
Are people
support the
aware
left
of this?
government, right?
In
You support the
G20,
CPM.
China did not participate.
Do you know that beginning June 2023, the Kerala government has been culling stray dogs?
Let me.
Please take some of your outrage and empathy and immediately go to Kerala and save all of those stray dogs.
Please don't go to Kerala now.
Large
We are
scale
talking of
culling
G20.
is happening of stray dogs.
Stick to G20. Stick to G20.
Are take your animal love there also, na?
You are trying to copy Kerala? You want to cull? No. You're not letting me speak. 10 more seconds and don't try to justify.
Okay.
Don't try to justify the government in this way or that way. It's wrong, Padmaja. It's not good journalism. Yes, thank you. Please let me speak. Then, fine. This was bad. Now, the Chinese did not participate and the Russians participated in a cosmetic way simply because they are not happy with the pro-US line that the Prime Minister and this government has taken. Okay. And for the same reasons that Sanju Verma was saying that major investments of the Americans is being taken, 100% FDI, which is not good for this nation.
Okay, just a second. Listen, none of us are diplomats. Let's not, there are very, very senior diplomats who have said that the outcomes are stupendous. So let's not try and nitpick things which frankly neither you nor I have expertise in. But very simply speaking, just before Sanju Verma responds, I want to ask you this. So basically, Shashi Tharoor is talking through his hat, right? When he says that it was a great outcome, he's talking through his hat.
No, absolutely not. He was talking in a very selective kind of a way.
Selective?
I am also saying yes, it was beautifully done. It was very nice. Many things were good. However, again I'm telling you, it's not your duty, Padmaja, as the executive editor of Times Now, and my duty as an
triumph for his very words. I actually want you to listen. Hold on a second. Let's leave aside even Shashi Tharoor for a second. I want you to listen to what the chairperson of the African Union had to say, because he is the head of a grouping of 50 plus countries. Let's listen into what he had to say about India's presidency and the summit. Mr. Srivastava, let's listen.
L'Inde, effectivement, tout le monde sait que c'est la 5e puissance du monde. Et puis aussi, elle a une puissance technique puisque elle est montée à la Lune comme les autres puissances. Donc, effectivement, aujourd'hui, l'Inde qui est une puissance, il a vraiment sa place en Afrique. Mais l'Inde aussi, c'est parmi les pays qui avaient des relations en Afrique. Maintenant, avec le G20, on va coordonner, on va se compléter pour les bénéfices des uns et des autres. Et c'est la première puissance en habitant maintenant. Elle a battu la Chine, l'Inde.
Mr. Srivastava, somebody who was so pained by China's absence, this will hurt you even more. The African Union chief is saying,
10 seconds.
According to us, India has surpassed China. It's the superpower of the subcontinent.
10 seconds.
Yes, 10 seconds.
First of all, the agenda of the African Union joining this had been drafted in the month of June, July. For your kind information, kindly check it out. And all the nations had been consulted and there was a broader spectrum. This was just the declaration part, for which Mr. Modi and India need not take the entire credit and showcase it to the people. Number one. Number two, your primary importance. In a bipolar world, if you do not have the Russians and the Chinese talking to you, your G20 is a failure. You do not have press conferences.
So says you don't want to give India credit or the presidency credit. The African Union chairperson clearly doesn't know as much as you, so he is giving credit to India. But well, what does he know? Sanju Verma, respond.
You know, since Vivek Srivastava spoke about stray dogs, Kerala apparently has a population of 2.9 lakh stray dogs. And do you know something, Padmaja? Just in the current year, 8.5 months, there have been cases of 122,321 stray dog bites, 1.22 lakh stray dog bites and 22 deaths. And the Kerala government has embarked on a massive program of sterilizing dogs to death. इसलिए यहाँ बैठकर स्ट्रे डॉग्स के ऊपर भाषण देने से पहले ये बताओ कि why is it that 1.22 lakh people were victims of stray dog bites in Kerala?
Quick response, Vivek Srivastava, and I really must bring in Samajwadi Party. Quick response, Vivek Srivastava.
You did it for G20.
So you are doing it every
भैया this was done only for G20. Culling is not the official policy. Culling is not the official policy of Delhi government or UP government. This was done only in a very erratic response without preparations only for G20.
Okay, sir.
Okay?
I'm sure
you
have gone into the files of how exactly it was done and what was the planning. Let me bring in Mr. Manoj Yadav, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Manoj ji, I want to read out to you the headline of what the Bloomberg says today. This is not the BJP. This is not the Prime Minister's office. This is what the Bloomberg takes away from the G20 summit. India's G20 win shows US is learning how to counter China rise. Xi Jinping's decision to stay away from the Group of 20 summit may have been intended to deny India its moment. Instead, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with the US and Europe, figured out how to more effectively counter China on the world stage. Today, countries are saying that India's playbook of G20 has set the bar for other countries. Brazil said it, कि आपने जो model establish किया है, down to the fact when India has spread out the G20 events in its presidency, Brazil is going to emulate it.
देखिए पद्मजा, जिस तरीके से महिमा मंडन किया जा रहा है नरेंद्र मोदी जी का, और ये बताने का प्रयास किया जा रहा है कि भारत को एक नई पहचान दी है, नरेंद्र मोदी में G20 की बात की गई और तमाम सारे देशों को, और अभी जैसे कि अफ्रीका की बात की गई कि उन्होंने स्पेस दिया, 21 हो गया, G21 हो गया। ये सारी बातें कहने के बाद ऐसा महसूस होता है कि जाहिर सी बात है ये भारत में पहली बार हो रहा होगा। इससे पूर्व में भारत के प्रधानमंत्री, उससे पूर्व में G20 के प्रोग्राम, चाहे तमाम सारे समूह हैं पूरी दुनिया में, उन सब में भारत की प्रतिभागिता रही। और ऐसा मुझे मालूम होता है कि अब तो मेरे ख्याल से स्ट्रीट डॉग वाली बात इस डिबेट में लाके गलत किया। मोदी जी की जैकेट पे अगर चर्चा की जाती तो बेहतर होता, शायद संजू वर्मा को भी बेहतर लगता और सबको लगता।
चलिए, क्योंकि आपने फिर से स्ट्रीट डॉग्स की बात की है, लेट मी टेल यू अ वेरी स्मॉल इंसिडेंट। 24th of September 2010, शायद the last international event that was held in India, Commonwealth Games. What does the headline say in 24th September 2010? Local authorities in New Delhi said on Friday that they have begun rounding up stray dogs that have been spotted on the Commonwealth Games venue. We have embarked on a drive to make all the venues dog free. A team has started picking up dogs on Friday morning and was set to continue catching the strays over the next week as well. ये प्रेम थोड़ा सा आप और विवेक श्रीवास्तव और लोकेश जिंदल 2010 में भी लेकर के आ जाते, maybe by now we would have had an effective policy vis-a-vis stray dogs. But anyway, go on.
मैं बोलूं, अगर बिल्कुल आपका सवाल आ गया, आपका धन्यवाद। इसका मतलब पद्मजा की पूरे भारत में बीजेपी के कथनानुसार कुछ भी राइट नहीं हो रहा है। अगर ये सब प्रैक्टिस में हो रहा होता तो ऐसी पिक्चर देखने को न मिलती। लेकिन मैं डिबेट इस पे नहीं करना चाहता हूं। मैं डिबेट ये करना चाहता हूं कि भारत मंडपम में भारत नहीं दिखा, नरेंद्र मोदी दिखे। ये इस देश का दुर्भाग्य था। मुझे एक दृश्य याद आ रहा है, और अगर आपके पास बाइट हो तो वो दृश्य जरूर चला दीजिएगा। जब G21 अफ्रीका के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष को लाया जा रहा था, तो लाने वाले, उनको रिसीव करके प्रधानमंत्री मोदी तक लाने वाले देश के विदेश मंत्री थे। उनका 5 कदम पहले रुक जाना और मोदी जी के फ्रेम से आउट हो जाना, मुझे नहीं लगता है कि G20 में कोई कमाल कर गया। आपका विदेश मंत्री अगर प्रधानमंत्री और किसी देश के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष से मुलाकात में साइड में खड़ा ना हो सके तो काहे का G20 भारत के लिए? मोदी जी के लिए हो सकता है वो G20 बेहतर।
Okay, respond to this, Sanju Verma. It became about one person and it became about almost an election campaign, says the Samajwadi Party.
Acha, is this man from the Samajwadi Party or the RJD?
Samajwadi Party. Samajwadi Party.
Okay, I stand corrected. My bad. I just want to say this. मान लो ये G20 सक्सेसफुल नहीं होता। Padmaja, last week I was on a debate on another channel where there was an official Congress spokesperson who is known to be ranting about everything and trolls all the NDA ministers saying आप 2 रुपए के ट्रोल के समान हो, जबकि खुद वो सबसे ज्यादा ट्रोलिंग करती हैं। She told me, I'm so happy because that time, there was a confusion whether Joe Biden would be able to make it or not, because Dr. Jill Biden, his spouse, and Joe Biden were apparently, they had tested negative. That was the rumor doing the rounds. She said, if Joe Biden does not come for this summit, then let's be very clear, G20 has failed for all practical purposes. मैंने ट्विटर पर पूछा, अब तो जो बाइडन भी आ गए, नेदरलैंड्स के पीएम भी आ गए, ऋषि सुनाक भी आ गए, अब आप क्या कहेंगी? मुंह में दही जम गया। तो इनका तो ये है, डैम्ड इफ यू डू, डैम्ड इफ यू डोंट। तो समाजवादी पार्टी को ये कहूंगी, आपका ये जो डॉट डॉट का गठबंधन है, तैयारी कर लीजिए। जैसे 2022 में समाजवादी पार्टी का सुपड़ा साफ हो गया था ना, वैसे ही 2024 में 5 लोकसभा सीट क्या, आपको 2 भी नहीं मिलेंगी। खैर, अभी तो आपका लोकसभा का स्कोर 3 लोकसभा सीटें हैं। आप रामपुर का बाई इलेक्शन हार गए, आप आजमगढ़ का बाई इलेक्शन हार गए, पर अभी भी कहने को बहुत बुरा लगता है, पर आपकी अक्कल अभी भी ठिकाने नहीं आई। सो कीप वाइनिंग, कीप सल्किंग। जैसे कहते हैं ना, यू कैन स्टू इन योर जूसेस, बट मोदी ही आएंगे 2024 में, लिखवा के ले लो।
Okay, let's not take it so far, but just let me end on a small note. मनोज जी, अभी आप घोसी का बाइपोल जीते हैं, आपको बहुत बहुत मुबारक। लेट मी रिमाइंड यू, आप कह रहे हैं कि भाई G20 की सफलता के लिए प्राइम मिनिस्टर को ही सारा क्रेडिट क्यों जा रहा है, बाकी सबको साइडलाइन क्यों किया जा रहा है। आपने तो घोसी के बाइपोल के लिए भी समाजवादी पार्टी ने ऑफिशियली कहा दैट दिस शोज दैट अखिलेश यादव इज गोइंग टू मेक अ कमबैक इन उत्तर प्रदेश। वो तो एक बाइपोल था सर, G20 समिट थोड़ा सा बड़ा है, नहीं? आई एम गोइंग टू लीव इट एट दैट। थैंक्स वेरी मच ऑल जेंटलमैन एंड संजू वर्मा फॉर joining me in what is being seen as the latest outreach to Muslim